All right, guys, today we're going to do some work on this 2000 Toyota that has the rear door handles. This is the rear seat. So the door handles broke and also the trim bezels broke. So I'm going to show you what would be involved in removing it with one that's not so badly damaged, obviously because this is in pretty bad shape. But in order to change this, we have to get this outer panel off. And the way we get that outer panel off is there's three places it's attached. This little plug here has to be removed. And there's a screw behind here. There's a little Phillips, it's Phillips, but it's a Gen, but there's another plug here, and there's a screw right here under the armrest. And then right on the back here, there's one of these kind of unusual things. It's like a push pin type of deal. And we have to push that pin in and take that guy out. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove these pins. And before I do that, though, I'm going to kind of show you what this would normally look like by using one of the parts we're going to replace this with. So the bezel would normally look like this if it wasn't broken. And it would have a little door that opens on the right side. So it opens right to left. And a lot of times these are broke off because people don't know and they prise it the wrong way and it breaks off. And that's normally what you have to expose to see the Phillips screw that's right in here. And after you take that screw out, you normally have to be able to grab the handle and pull it forward in order to get this guy to come out of the little latch he's in right over here, and he just pops off right here. So I'll show you that again as we get further along, but that's basically the gist of what the repair would look like if it wasn't as badly damaged as this one. All right, so let me pause this for a second and get a couple of tools, and then we'll come back. All right, we're going to start with this guy right here. I'm going to start with just a trim tool here just to get him going, maybe get him lucky and not have to do anything else. You really don't want to try, you want to avoid using any metal around the outer part because you'll damage the trim. So I'm going to see if I can get it out with just this. There it goes. That's what he looks like right there. It's just got some nubs on the inside that holds him on. Remember that he's kind of angled, so when you put him back in, you got to get him in the same position where it's going to be like that. All right, now we're going to do this guy over here on the outer edge. So this guy, I'm just going to give him... All right, just pushing this guy in will be enough to cause him to unlatch. And take a little tool to pull it out. All right, and then we're going to take this trim piece here off the top. And again, we're just going to use like a tool like this, just prise it off. Okay. Now there's no fasteners here, but we're just doing this so that when we get the rest of it done, we'll be able to lift it off. And now we're going to get this plug right here on the inside. These plugs are in there really good and tight. All right, so we got that guy out. Now that we got them all out, we can remove the screws that are in here. You can get them out with a Phillips screwdriver. I won't tell you that they're Phillips because they probably are not with a Toyota. They're probably GIN screws, but they come out just fine. All right, so that's that guy. This guy, I'm going to have to get my little light in here so I can see where he is. And then after we take this screw out, we're going to take the screw out of the broken door handle trim piece. Now these screws are pretty long. I have a little magnet here that just helps me get them out because they kind of stay in there even after you've got them loosened up. All right. Now we're going to take this guy out. Now remember before I told you you'd have a little door here normally if it wasn't broke off that you'd open from the right-hand side, open it to the left to access this screw. But this one, it's all broken off already. Okay, got that guy. All right, guys, now we have to take off this power window switch just because it's going to hold on to the trim panel when we take it off. It's got a couple of little plastic tabs that hold on this side and then a spring clip on the front side. So we're going to take it off from the front side. So we can pull it out like that. And we're just going to push in this little tab here so that we can remove the power connector. So as long as these aren't broken, this guy's okay. Usually what happens on these is one of these or both these gets broke off because somebody tries to open it, you know, either from the back instead of the side or the front. You can grab it either in the front or near the side near the front and it'll come right out. All right, so with that out of the way, now we're going to take this piece off. And again, remember I said if you didn't have the broken handle like this one, you'd have to pull it forward so that you could lift on this and pull backwards. And there's that little hook type attachment that I was talking about that fits on the base of our unit. Now we can see all of our broken pieces in here from what the impact that happened on this that caused this damage. I'll have to clean some of this stuff out before we actually take the panel off so it doesn't drop inside. But at this point, we're ready to take the panel off. So let me pause and take that stuff out, and then we'll remove the panel. All right, we got all this cleaned out. There's like a piece of foam that traps all that stuff that would break conveniently. Now we're going to move over here. The last thing I want to do is get that pin out that we pushed in earlier. So I'm just going to take a small little metal tool just because it's so small I have to. And then you can see this is how this kind of thing is, right? So you push the pin in and it lets you remove it. Okay, at this point there's nothing holding on the outer trim panel. So I'm just going to take a normal trim tool and come down here and start to prise it off. There's little spring clips, and once you can get your hand under here, you can pull it the rest of the way. And then once those clips are out, it just lifts off, just like that. And I see there was one additional little piece of something that fell down. It looks like it was maybe a washer or something that sat behind there, made of plastic. Just a guess. All right, let me go set this trim panel inside the car so it doesn't get damaged on the back seat. And now we've got one more screw here that we need to take off. All right, and now with that screw off, what you see here is this is your lock, and it works this little assembly here. So this whole kind of arrangement is just to come all the way over here to actuate the lock. And then the door handle works this one here, and you can't see it behind this piece of metal, but you can watch over on the end, and you can see that unlocks, or opens rather, your door so you can open it. All right, guys, so after you take that bolt off, just kind of wiggle it forward like that, and it just comes loose like that. And then we'll be able to turn it around on the other side. Let's get my pliers here, where we can see how to remove these rods. All right, so you get this guy in a position where you can turn him so that you can take the rod out like that. Same with the bottom one. And this, remember, you know, this is your handle and this is your lock. And then we'll take the new piece and just reverse the process. And then slide it back in. So what we're trying to do is these two tabs here slide into these metal cutouts. You push in and slide towards the rear of the vehicle. All right, so now we've got our handle and we still have our lock working just fine. Okay, at this point I'm going to reinstall this bolt here, and then we're going to go around and reverse what we just did. So we're going to break for a second though, because I'm actually going to check out that washer, because what I think it is I think it actually fits on these retaining clips that hold the outer trim on, because I see one here that's broke and I see one of those little washers underneath it. So we're going to want to replace that anyway, and I want to see if that's actually the same little washer we saw broke off. So we'll pick it back up after I check that out. Yeah, guys, these little washers do fit on the clips that retain the outer cover of the door. So that's where that guy came from. This just happens that one of these must have been broke, or maybe even broke off while we were doing this. Who knows? It's just old. 20 years old. All right, let's go ahead and fit our screw back in here. Remember that you get the right screw on here because the one that goes on this side of this door handle is smaller, shorter than the one that goes over here. All right. With this tightened up, again, you just want to check the action, make sure everything's working properly before you cover it up. At that point, we can go ahead and put the trim cover back on. What you want to do is get your power window switch and run it into position, kind of hold it so you don't lose it. Work the door handle in between here. And then line it up on the top and slide it down. I always find this part the hardest part, actually, getting this to line up and fit inside the door metal. All right, guys, so I'm coming on the other side just to show you. So you've got these little metal ridges here that have to line up with the welded seams of the door on both of them in order to get it to go down. So it won't go down until you have those lined up. All right, and as you start reversing the process here, we're going to first put this big long screw in here on the armrest. And then after we get it tightened down, we'll reinstall the plug. It's a real long one, so it's going to take you a while to put it in. Similarly, we got the one that goes up in the upper part of the armrest. Once we get this guy in, we'll reinstall the power window switch. Okay, this is why we left our power cord here. Make sure it snaps. Push it in on the back. Snap it in on the front. And then we got this little plug we took out on the side. And then to reinstall it, push the pin all the way through. Like that. Because this outer piece is just a locking pin. You push it flush. Then you take the inner pin and once, twice. You make sure it's flush. Now we're going to put this piece on. So now that we have a working door handle, we have to pull it out like I was explaining earlier. Now we're trying to get this little piece here to fit into the black frame. And this is going to be our little door to reinstall the screw. Just going to try and carefully get it out of the way without breaking it. There we go. All right, so still I'm not happy that this is seated all the way. There he goes. All right. And this little door, this little access door is super fragile. So, got to be gentle with it. That's what I've found. Right now it's just kind of crooked itself where I can't get it to open enough to reinstall the bolt. Yeah, I might have to take it out here and try to see what it's hung up on. Okay, so here's what's going on with this little door. You know, it's not typical Japanese engineering that I would expect, but that guy only sits in one position where you can get him to where he's not going to break and let you put the screw in. So you just got to be real careful. That it looks like what you got to do is you got to push him in and then bend him backwards. So push him in and then bend him backwards. So we'll try this again. So we'll push our front piece in, right? Remember our little hook here. All right, and then we'll push him in bend him back, and then we get our little bolt here. Now we can fit this guy in. Tighten him up. And then once he's tightened up, we just give that guy a little push and we're done. So we got this guy all set back up. We're going to put our plugs back in. So remember the angle these plugs go. That's our small plug. And then we're going to take this guy here. And I think he looks like he's going to go like that, maybe. Yeah, you're going to have to kind of work with him and twist him around if you don't get him lined up the first time. I'm thinking maybe like that. There he goes. All right. All right, so got all these guys put back together. Maybe we'll come back in here at some time and replace one or two of those trim clips. Now we're just going to put this trim panel here back in. And this guy, I'm going to have to stand up here for a second. So this guy, you've got two male pieces that have to fit in these two female pieces. There's one, and there's two. At that point, we're done. We got everything kind of closed up here. We're going to just kind of make sure that we can open this from the Lockworks. Everything looks good. So I hope this helps you out. If you got questions, you got comments, you got complaints, go ahead and leave them in the bottom. If you found this useful, go ahead and hit that like button, and please think about subscribing. Thanks for watching.